Hey guys, just recording this immediately after the game against Rayo Vallecano where we dropped 2 points where we should have won because obviously we came back and the team showed a lot of character to come back from being 2 goals down in a stadium and a team that we struggled with historically. 1 win out of the last 4 at that stadium, which is so disappointing because you felt like the 3 points were right there. And being ahead of Barcelona would have been a big boost, especially with the team having to travel to the Middle East to play in the World Club Cup. So a couple of things I want to break down in this video to show a little bit of where we basically fell short. And again, I in a game like this, it's hard to really put all the blame on Carlo Ancelotti and say he's to blame for everything. There was mistakes from individual players, but we can't neglect the fact that yes, Carlo had some tactical errors in this match, and I'm going to go through some of those tactical errors in this video. The first mistake comes from the Rayo Vallecano's first goal. You can see that Fran Garcia is being turned inside and out, and when that ball comes in, Lucas Vazquez has to track the runner who's coming into the box that's outside of the vision of Tchouaméni. But as Lucas Vazquez is tracking him, he doesn't read the path of the ball that's coming into the box. He overcommits to defending that attacker coming into the box that he neglects to look over his shoulder and sees the guy coming in from behind him. Either Lucas Vazquez had to apply some pressure to him, make it difficult for him to try to head that ball in, or Arda needed to track that runner. Lucas Vazquez is keeping an eye on the guy that's outside of the vision of Tchouaméni, which he's doing the right thing in that instance. But if he reads the path of the ball into the box, he could have put a little bit of pressure on the attacker behind him. Well, he doesn't do either, and Arda doesn't help him. So that's the first goal. And then the second goal, you can see it comes from a corner kick. Lucas Vazquez and Brahim Diaz are defending. Look at the mismatch. Why is it that they have this tall center back who's attacking the ball, and our 2 shortest defenders are on a guy that's significantly taller than them? This is why teams go to a man-to-man marking, not a zonal marking, because they put that ball where corner kicks from a corner. That's where you're supposed to put the ball. You're supposed to put it at the top of the 6-yard box, and that's exactly where that corner went. But it was simply a mismatch. Last season, we were so good at defending set pieces, but so far this season, it's been a significant dip. And I have to assume that Rayo Vallecano did their homework and prepared before the match to say, hey, look, there's a gap in the way they defend from set pieces. Because that zonal marking, if it's done correctly, you can bypass the opposition's zonal marking by mismatching the players. Now, when we talk about the comeback, where we scored 2 goals when we were down 2-0, when I thought all hope was lost, this is the thing with Carlo Ancelotti, as he gets bailed out by individual moments of brilliance, and that's exactly what happened in this game. And the first and most important goal was Fede's goal. That came from absolutely nowhere. We were not creating chances. We didn't look like we were going to score. But of course, Fede does what he always does, is he creates something out of absolute dust out of nowhere. And that's been the frustration for me, from a lot of you watching this video, is a lot of the times under Carlo, it looks like the team is just not doing enough. It's just not creating enough opportunities. The process hasn't been good enough. But then you get these moments from players like Fede you saw in this game, or the half chance that Jude Bellingham scored. That was not an easy goal to score. Neither was the goal by Rodrygo. But when you look at the lineup, you saw that Carlo Ancelotti had Bellingham playing higher up the pitch. The team benefited by having Jude Bellingham so high up, where he was playing in that sort of false 9 role. But then when you have a double pivot of Luka Modric, Fede Valverde, supported by Arda Güler and Brahim Diaz, you have a lack of legs in the midfield. That's why Jude was doing all of that work that he was doing prior to playing in this new position that he was playing today, is because he balanced the team's lack of legs in the midfield. And that's why in these transitions, although we had the majority of the ball, we really struggled when the ball was turned over. But if there's one thing we learned in this game, is that our fullbacks, you cannot win championships. You cannot win the Champions League with these 2 guys respectfully. Okay, look, this is going to be controversial because Ferland Mendy has proven that he's a Champions League winning quality fullback. He provides the team with so much balance. He's so press resistant. But Fran Garcia is yet to show that yet. And there was a few moments today where he looks a step below Ferland Mendy was last season. And that's no knock on Fran Garcia. He's been doing well this season. But when it comes to the games like this, where you're going to be in a hostile atmosphere, you're going to get pressed. That's where the quality really shines. And we forget, Lucas Vazquez is a right midfielder. He's not naturally a right back. Is the board going to go the entire season with Lucas Vazquez at right back without a proper long-term solution for the rest of the season? Does Danny Carvajal do better with that cross when it comes in by defending that far post? I think a veteran has better instinct in that situation. And the other thing we have to talk about is that how much the team struggled to play through the press of Rayo Vallecano. They pressed so high up the pitch, the team oftentimes struggled to find a solution. Many of us praise Dani Ceballos for his performance against Atalanta. And Atalanta's press is a much more challenging press than the one that we face against Rayo Vallecano, because Atalanta actually goes player for player, 1v1, they press very high up. But you saw a lot more movement from our attacking players in that game. Whereas in this one, it's not just about physical fatigue, because you can look at a player from a data standpoint, you can look at a player and say they're in the green. They're not in the yellow, they're not in the red. But when you're playing so many consecutive games one after the other, you get exhausted. And so you start to see more and more mistakes. The kind of mistakes that Rodrygo was making today, where he almost gave up a goal. In that moment, if he gave up that goal due to a lapse of concentration from a throw-in, the game would have been over. Look, this was a very important game from the sense of we want to be able to consistently get results, because whenever we do get a positive result, we stumbled against at Salmames. We lost 2-1, and that was due to an individual error by Fede Valverde. Then we get an important win away in Italy against Atalanta. Atalanta's only conceded 1 goal in the Champions League. We went to their stadium, scored 3. And then today we dropped points from a position where we were ahead. So this has been the issue this season, which is we struggle to seize on these opportunities that we're given. We need to be able to string consistent wins, one after the other. Look, Manchester City travels to PSG in their next Champions League match. PSG has not been good. But let's say somehow City loses that game. They have 1 more game to go. That is our biggest competition potentially out of the Champions League. They could feasibly finish below the top 24. Then we have an opportunity to win the Champions League. The league, it's still December. We're 1 point behind Barcelona. There's so much to play for. But let's take a hard look in the mirror and say to ourselves, does Carlo Ancelotti have the personnel that he needs? Is the lack of squad rotations good enough? And is it sustainable for the rest of the season? Is the process in which Real Madrid is able to generate goals also good enough? How about the substitutions? What about the lack of preparation around set pieces? Winning titles, it comes to attention to detail. And conceding a corner kick in a game like this, when you have guys like Tchouaméni, Rudiger, Fede Valverde, Jude Bellingham all in the box, all really good aerial guys, you concede a corner kick? How's that good enough? Look, this result is not the end of the world, but you certainly can't play like that if you want to win the league. This team is not as good as last year's team. That we know for sure. And this was the kind of game where we could have used Mbappe, the first 30 minutes of Atalanta Mbappe, not the entire season Mbappe. Look, the house is not on fire. We can win our second title, actually, now that I think about it. Technically, it's the second title of the season this week. But if there's positives to take from this, it's the fact that Carlo Ancelotti seems to now trust Arda Güler more. We're seeing more minutes out of him. We're seeing more minutes out of Fran Garcia. Brahim Diaz has been such a phenomenal player for us so far this season. Rodrygo is back to his scoring ways. Jude Bellingham, another goal. But you can't have a game where you concede 3 goals and say that you deserve to win that match. Conceding 3 is not good enough. Carlo Ancelotti, you said that you found the solution. I didn't see a solution tonight. I didn't see a team that was very compact out of the ball tonight. I saw a lot of the same issues we've seen game after game. Is Real Madrid better today than they were in the beginning of the season? Yes. Still a long ways to go. I don't know if you guys agree with me. This is not a reactionary video where I'm sitting here saying like, oh, fire Carlo. None of that. No, I'm just saying a lot of the pre-existing issues and problems we talk about in this channel are still going on. and things that need to be resolved. That's all I got for this one. I have a lot of really exciting content coming up, stuff I can't even reveal at this point, but trust me, you're going to want to stay tuned to it. So make sure you guys subscribe and stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Hala Madrid.